Wrapping up this week with Chapter 10 Stress Responses and Stress Management. We can go ahead and save this survey for the very end. Being nursing students, I'm hoping you're not scoring too high. Maggie, a college student, is experiencing stress in her life. I don't know what to do, she says. I mean, this is supposed to be this awesome, exciting time in my life. Finally going to college. I love college. I love being a student. But honestly, trying to juggle my schoolwork, job responsibilities, and single parenting is starting to make me feel pulled in a million directions at once. Adverse childhood experiences. Some of us had harder childhoods than others, and these adverse experiences sensitize people to stress later in life. These include any form of sexual, physical, or sexual abuse, violence against a parent, particularly the mother, or living with people with substance use disorders, mentally ill, or even incarcerated. That could be everyone's had a different road, a different path through life, and it really can have a major factor in how you deal with stress and traumatic events later. Early stress response theories. The first phenomenon we'll talk about is the fight or flight response, and this is that body preparing for a situation that it perceives as a threat for survival. Think back to the caveman days. You're walking down the path and a bear suddenly appears. You get that jolt of adrenaline. It's your body's natural response as it's preparing you to either fight the bear off or run for your life. And unfortunately, your body still has that innate ability when it sees a frightening, stressful situation to give that surge of adrenaline to activate that sympathetic nervous system. And unfortunately, now in modern times when there's much less threats around, now you're still getting that jolt of adrenaline, that jolt for survival, but it's more just making you more stressful than angry than it is helping you survive. Next, we'll discuss the general adaptation syndrome, and this occurs in 3 stages. First is the alarm or acute stress stage, and this is where, again, that activation of the sympathetic nervous system, that increase in blood pressure, increase in heart rate, increase in respirations, giving your body that extra fuel that it needs to fight off a threat to survival. Following that would be the resistance or adaptation stage, and this is sustained and optimal resistance to that stressor. Recovery, repair, or renewal may occur. And finally, the exhaustion stage. You've worn yourself out fighting that bear. Resources are depleted. The stress may become chronic as it continues on day after day. Other terms you'll hear often would be bad stress versus good stress, or eustress versus distress. Eustress is that normal physiologic positive energy that motivates individuals and results in positive feelings, purposeful movement. Not all stress is bad. A little bit of stress is good for you. Much like that eustress you'll have this weekend preparing for our first mental health exam next week. That's eustress. That's good stress. Not to be confused with distress. Distress is that bad stress. That's the negative, draining energy that results in anxiety, depression, confusion, helplessness, fatigue. None of that, only eustress this weekend. Maggie, our college student, is aware that she needs help. On the 3 afternoons a week before she starts classes, she has lunch with her 2-year-old daughter on campus, then goes to a yoga class right after on campus that also provides childcare. After yoga, her sister picks up her daughter, and Maggie goes on to class. I'm trying, Maggie says. It's still not easy, and I still feel a bit overloaded. But this is at least making some difference. It's a start. It's a step. What stage of the general adaptation syndrome is Maggie most likely experiencing? Alarm, resistance, exhaustion, or none of the above? And that answer is B, resistance stage. She's become comfortable with it. She's learning to manage. She's going to yoga. She's finding alternatives to both manage her daughter as well as keep up with her schoolwork, go to class. There is critique of the general adaptation theory. Different types of stressors bring different patterns of response. It's the degree of stress that's important. And the GAS reflects male responses. Females tend to respond by tending and befriending. Tending and befriending is also another theory. It's a survival strategy that emphasizes the protection of the young and reliance on the social network for support. Also, women are more vulnerable to stress-related disorders. This may be due to females being more sensitive to even low levels of corticotropin-releasing hormone, a peptide hormone released from the hypothalamus in response to stress. I'm more of the opinion that all could be true, and each person is their own unique individual who's going to respond differently to stress. They're going to adapt to it. Another phenomenon you'll see is that the immune system stress responses. And that involves an interaction between the nervous system and the immune system during these alarms phases and these stressful stages. And unfortunately, this high levels of stress can have negative impacts on the body's immune system. And unfortunately, high levels of stress can correspond with increased susceptibility to illness. There's many mediators of the stress response, everything from environmental, physical mediators to psychological stressful events. There's also the person's perception and their individual temperament. How they perceive that stress can go a long way in how they react to it. Other things like social support and culture can also be major factors in how they cope and manage with that stressful event. What reaction to stress is healthy? Distress, eustress, stressor, or D? None of the above. And that answer again is B, eustress, the good stress. Especially in mental health, this is a subject that'll come up a lot, and the nursing management of stress responses. We have 2 more questionnaires, and again, when self-administering this questionnaire, consider things that not all events are perceived to have the same degree of intensity or disruptiveness. What was extremely disruptive to you may be easy for another person, and vice versa. What may be extremely stressful for them could be something you manage quite easily. Keep in mind that all of these stress responses are a subjective experience. There's many different coping styles that you could be assessing. Health-sustaining habits, life satisfaction, social supports, and effective and healthy responses to stress, or some combination of all of those coping styles and strategies. As Maggie continues to develop ways to manage stress in her life, she works at developing these 4 coping styles as much as possible. Already, the yoga class and lunch with her daughter has become an effective and healthy response to stress that's also health-sustaining. In the area of social support, she relies not just on her sister, but on a group of single-parent students she finds on campus, who meet to share things that work for them. There are also many stress-reducing relaxation techniques that can be both effective for you and for your patient. One's the biofeedback, and that would be by focusing on controlling some aspect of your body, such as your breathing. As you focus on breathing in and out, it can have an unintended effect of helping you relax and take your mind off of the stressful event. Other ones such as deep breathing exercises, guided imagery, meditation, and mindfulness could also be effective. Other strategies that you'd definitely see in a psychiatric hospital mental health setting as well would be physical exercise. I know the one that I worked at had a full gym. It was more of like that 1950s gym, but yeah, it was a very positive thing so that even in the winter, those patients could go exercise, get some energy out, and that's going to go a long way in help reducing their stress. Also, strategies such as journaling, humor, and cognitive reframing. Finally, for our last question of the week, in the GAS, which stage occurs first? Alarm, resistance, or exhaustion? And again, right in order, that would be A, the alarm stage. And anyway, that is our last chapter this week while we prepare for our first exam next week. Again, we've got our posted times for tutoring posted on both Teams as well as the LMS. There's only one link out there. We've got the current link for the Zoom, but feel free to shoot me an email or something if you don't have that link, can't find it. I'll go ahead and I'll email it back to you. Otherwise, and don't forget the test blueprint as well. That test blueprint, and I also have a worksheet on therapeutic communication that are both attached down in the LMS as well as the Teams. Anyway, I'll see you Sunday at 3 p.m. or Monday at 5 p.m. for our 2 tutoring times. You only need to go 1. And otherwise, good luck this weekend. If you have any questions studying, reach out anytime.